La Boheme kicks off the Tulsa opera season on October 16th, and a very special friend is back with us, Kostas Protopappas. And I said it again.
Yes, you did great.
Kid boy with Tulsa
Yeah, I
Opera. It's
know.
good to have you back. Seems like
It's
you were
good
just
to be back,
here a
Sam.
couple of days ago.
Yeah. Couple of weeks.
Most relaxed guy won the green when we get him just a moment ago, and he's in there asleep. How do you do that?
Well, you have to get some sleep between rehearsals, so you get it, whenever you can.
Whenever you can.
Yeah.
Tell us about the production.
Well, La Boheme is justly the most popular opera of the whole repertoire. It's a story about friendship, it's a story about youth, it's a story about first love, and it's also a story about the fragility of life. It's about young people, a group of friends, and how their lives evolve together. They fall in love, then it's easy to fall in love, but hard to stay together. We experience a lot of those things with them, and one of them is very ill, and she dies. So it's sort of a story of transformation, how those people grow up together, and what their friendship stands for. And it's by a very famous composer, Giacomo Puccini, who wrote this opera in the late 19th century. It's a beautiful opera. It's the perfect opera. There's not one note too many perfect tunes. It's a short opera, but it's really packed with a great story, packed with humor, packed with emotion. It's very entertaining, very moving, very true to life. And we have a very exciting cast, very young cast with beautiful voices. Most of them are making their debuts with Tulsa Opera. And the lead female role, Mimi, is played by Karen Wolverton, who was with us a couple of years ago, and she did a fantastic job as Michaela and Carmen, and we have her back. And the Bohemians, these young, artists and lovers, friends, whatever you want to call them, Nathan Granner, Grammy Award-winning song recording artist. Nathan Stark is playing Colline. Alexander Elliott was a young artist with us a few years ago, and he comes back in a big role as Marcello. One of our young artists, Stephen Clark, is playing Shonar, and Mary Hollis Huntley is playing Musetta. It's a beautiful production, great scenery. This is a great scene, Christmas Eve in the Latin Quarter in Paris. All sorts of pageantry, just a lot of fun. It's a beautiful production, great music. The Tulsa Opera Orchestra, of course, in the pit.
It sounds to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of folks need to recognize opera for what it is. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows the story, everybody knows the music, but they're brought in because of the draw.
Yes.
The draw of the music, the draw of the storyline, the writing, the choreography, and it all becomes, I want to see that production again and again.
Yeah, I mean, I think opera is the most multifaceted and the most deeply moving of the performing arts forms. There's the synergy between the words and the music, and of course the stories. These are all really great stories. They are very entertaining at times, they're very lighthearted at times, but there's always an experience. And of course, with Boheme, it's a story about young people, so everybody can relate to, because we're all either young at heart, or we remember being young.
We remember being there. Gosh.
So this is, and of course, this particular opera inspired the musical Rent, which came much later. So a lot of people know this story as a contemporary story from New York in the 80s, I think. So this is really a very, very extraordinary, beautiful, touching opera.
I'm going to come back to this date and time and everything in just a couple of minutes, but I wanted to be sure and pass this along. When you were here last time,
yes,
and we talked of opera, ironically, when I got home that night on one of the lower end cable tiers, the original Phantom of the Opera, now the old black and white version, popped up, and I thought, oh, that can't be what I think it is.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was. And you were the first one that came to mind, because the players in that were not key motion picture players.
Right.
They were really opera stars.
Right.
Did a little digging on it and found out that 4 of the folk involved in the main, body of the flow of the story itself were directly from the Broadway stage in New York.
Right.
And they'd flown them to California to shoot it.
Yeah.
Then they had to go back for location shoots at an old opera house in New York City.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, you know. So anyway, I wanted to be sure you knew about that. Little movie trivia there. All right, it's the 16th. Where?
At the Tulsa Performing Arts Center, downtown Tulsa on 3rd and Cincinnati. This Friday the 16th at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday, October the 18th at 2:30 p.m.
Tickets are already on sale.
Yes, they are at tulsaopera.com.
How are sales going?
They are going great. This is one of the most popular operas in the repertoire.
Certainly.
So, I mean, obviously our season subscriptions are up this season, which is very exciting, but this is probably going to be the best-selling opera of the season. So the good seats are probably going to go first.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. Well, while we're here, and we have a few extra minutes, what's ahead again with Tulsa Opera? We know of this one. What else is coming?
The second one, it's the first weekend of March 4th and the 6th, is A Streetcar Named Desire. It's a relatively recent opera by Andrew Previn, another award-winning movie and Broadway composer and great conductor, based very faithfully on the Tennessee Williams classic. So we always do an American opera each year. And then we close the season with, in Cecil B. DeMille fashion, with Samson and Delilah, big pageantry opera, huge chorus, sort of epic grand opera.
You've got all Tulsa musicians, correct?
Yes, that we have the Tulsa Opera Orchestra in the pit, which shares a lot of its membership with the Tulsa Symphony Orchestra. It's a local professional orchestra, and the Tulsa Opera Chorus is a professional chorus comprised of singers from Tulsa, but also Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma City, from all over.
Somebody told me, and I don't think we covered it the last time we talked, but somebody told me that there's been expressed a big interest by the very young in Tulsa Opera.
Yes, we have a program called Tulsa Youth Opera, which is a tuition-free training program for children ages 8 to 18. They take singing lessons, they sing as a group, they take acting lessons, language, they get trained on all the sort of musical, theatrical arts, and they have their own production. In fact, this June, they will do their own production of another relatively new opera, The Hobbit, based, of course, on The Hobbit. And all the children play the leads. There are going to be about probably 40 or 50 children. And again, with orchestra and full scenery.
How old is this program?
This program is now, I think, 16 or 17 years old.
So it's old enough that you could have seen young ones grow
Oh, absolutely.
into prominent roles.
Absolutely. Well, several of the Tulsa Youth Opera alumni have gone on to careers. There are a few that have gone on to Broadway. There's someone that went up to Northwestern University in Chicago, and she ended up performing with Second City. There are a couple of people that graduated from Manhattan School, the Juilliard. So they go into opera, musical theater. But the important thing is not so much to create performers, but to create this appreciation for the art form, which is enriching everybody's life. So we are happy for our children that go on and become professionals, but we're equally happy for those that don't aspire to be professionals, but they carry the love for the art form with them their entire lives.
For La Boheme, will there be a children's performance?
There will be a performance by one of our youth groups in the lobby, but also there is, the children's chorus actually performs in La Boheme.
I'm sorry, I didn't phrase that correctly. Will there be a performance just for children to attend?
No. We don't have a performance just for children. What we do have is we bring student groups in at the final dress rehearsal. We call it Student Night at the Opera.
Good.
So it's over the course of we do this for all three of our operas. And over the course of the season, over 2,000, depending on the piece and the age group, over 2,000 school children will get to see the real thing for free.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's probably for most of them their first exposure.
I think for a lot of them it's probably the first time they see professional theater. For a lot of them it's probably the first time that they hear a live symphony orchestra.
And make no mistake, the people involved, the men and women of this company, as well as the musicians, will work just as hard for these children in dress rehearsal as they do for a sole performance.
Absolutely, and the young audiences sometimes are very invigorating to perform for because they have no preconceived notions. They react very directly. They are always very attentive. In fact, sometimes they are so attentive, in the comedy that you wonder if the joke actually, went down. But because they are so respectful, but also they applaud very heartily. You can really the performers get a very direct response about what their work is doing from the young
That's
performers,
great.
sometimes more than the adult audience.
I got about 15 seconds. Time, date.
October 16th at 7:30, October 18th at 2:30 at the Tulsa PAC, tulsaopera.com.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sam.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Perspectives. We'll see you next time.